Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another Duncan the DM Productions. Today I'm going to do another video on the Kids on Bike system. This topic was a question that went by on the Kids on Bike community page, where it was asked, what are snap decisions and how are they different from planned actions? Well, they're quite different and both have their uses in the game. Snap decisions will be the most common type that come up in your game when your players don't have time to plan what they're doing. Where planned actions are things happening in the future where all of your players can take time to prepare for it. I'm going to go over these in more detail, as well as I have a couple custom rules that you might use for your game. Now, planned action is what I'll go over first, since people are less familiar with these and there's more questions on how to use them. Planned actions happen when your players have time to come up with a plan or how they're going to handle obstacles in the future. This can be physical, mental, or social obstacles. Here are a couple examples. Your group is traveling through the forest and you come to a large river and they need to figure out how to cross it safely. If they're not being chased or there's no threat, they can do this as a planned action. One of your players is studying for an upcoming test. Now they have the rest of the evening to finish reviewing the material, so there's no rush. The third one is for social. Some lead narrators may not like this. They may like the dice better. But after your group runs away from a building where they found a dead body, they all meet up at one of the characters' house to discuss what they're going to tell the sheriff. This could be viewed as a planned action as they have time to prepare on what they're going to do. Some of the lead narrators may not like that as a planned action. They might view it more as being snap decisions made when you're interacting with the sheriff, but it could be viewed either way. All of the examples were given where the players had time to come up with the best way to handle the obstacles in front of them. This would allow them to take the planned action. Now, the way that mechanically the planned action works, it lets you use half of your dice value on the check versus having to roll the dice. This can prevent low outcomes and help you succeed with having to roll. Now, using planned actions is going to be very useful when it's your high stats, your D20 and your D12. When you start doing this on your smaller dice, you're going to have real low chances of succeeding unless you get help. Now, with planned actions, you can go into the check failing but still succeed if you have adversary tokens to use. And also with planned actions, your friends are able to help you so you can benefit from their adversary tokens to assist you. This can be a huge boost to allow you to succeed in an area where it may not be your strength. When doing planned actions, there's two house rules which you could use to allow your players to help each other out. Planned action is taking the value of the main person, but this is a cooperative game, so your friends may be able to help you out as well. So here are two possible rules you could use to represent. The first one is looking at the value of the dice of the people assisting. If somebody who's assisting you has a D20, you can allow them to give a +2 bonus to your roll. If somebody is assisting you has a D12, you can allow them to give +1, as both of them are highly knowledgeable in this area and should be able to assist you to accomplish what you're doing. So this could represent the smart kid in class helping you study. This can represent the charming kid stepping in to help talk for you, trying to keep you out of trouble. While this rule is not in the book, it does make sense to me. Now, as with all rules, there will be times where it doesn't make sense story-wise, and you may not allow this. So to give an example of this, we'll use characters from The Simpsons TV show. Bart has a D4 for his brains, and he has a test tomorrow with a difficulty of 6. So he calls his friends over to help him study. In the group, he has Lisa, who is a D20 for her brains, and Milhouse, who is a D12 for his brains. So if Bart takes the planned action for studying, his dice would only be a 2, half of his D4, which is not enough to pass. But since Lisa is helping, she would add a +2 because her brains is a D20. Still wouldn't be enough to pass. But Milhouse is there and he'll add a +1 because he is a D12 for his brain. This will bring his result up to a 5. While this would bring the total to a 5, which would still not be enough to pass, at this point, any of the characters could use adversary tokens to push them up to that 6th level or higher if they want. Because only on planned actions are friends able to give you their adversary token to help you out. The second variation is similar to the previous one, but this will allow any of the players to help if their stat dice is greater than the difficulty that's set before them. So in this example, the difficulty is going to be set at 7. Any player with a matching stat dice of a D8 or higher could add a +1 to the roll. This variation will typically allow more players in the group to help out with the planned actions as they all work together to get past the obstacle. Now, for both of these, I would ask the players to give narrative reasons on how they're helping the player handle the task before giving the bonus. You may also consider limiting the number of people who can help, as it's possible to end up with too many cooks in the kitchen. Now, snap decisions are going to be the most common roll you make. These are the rolls at the spur of the moment where you don't have time to rely on your friends to help you out. On snap decisions, you can only spend your adversary token. Your friends cannot help you on these. Here are some examples of snap decision. Really, any type of a fight you're in. If a pop quiz comes up in class that you didn't have time to prepare for. When you're sneaking into your house, your parents catch you and you have to come up with a lie on the spot. These results are left up to the randomness of the dice. But you can use your adversary tokens that you've personally earned to help with these rolls. Now, one optional rule you can do is to allow other characters to use their adversary tokens to help out their friends on snap action. If you do this, I would ask for them to come up with a narrative reason on how they're helping out, and also take a look at how the situation is to see if it is something that they could truly help out on. Another thing you may take into consideration is where you want the focus on the characters in the game. As an example, characters from my Hillbrook game, JD and Mikey are sneaking back into the house, but JD's dad, Mr. Jefferson, sees them and goes out to talk to them. Now this would be a snap action since they didn't have time to come up with a plan in their story. Now when talking to JD's dad, Mikey is there and he might be able to help to add to the story by using his adversary tokens, if this feels appropriate. If you want the story to focus on JD, then you could have Mr. Jefferson quickly tell them that Mikey is not part of this conversation and he needs to step outside while he talks to his son. When doing this would not allow the characters to use adversary tokens to help out in the situation. As with all situations of the game, do what feels right for you and what works for your story. I hope these suggestions help you in your game and help explain the difference between snap actions and planned action. As always, thank you for listening to Duncan the DM Productions. And remember, success will continue to drive your story, but failures will cause the player to add to the story.